not sure who it is yet. I need to try and get my binos to see that other side of his. Yeah, that could well be quarantine, judging from that spot pattern. So on the right hand side of his muzzle you can see 3 small spots above that top whisker line. The back one, the third one, is almost 2 that are joined together, and that I do remember, along with the 3 spot pattern on the left of his muzzle. So well done, Raisa, on your quick ID. It really is incredible how quickly some of you can identify these animals, and I do take my hat off to all of you, because I certainly can't. Go ahead, Ephraim. I'm not copying you well, but yes, my daughter Ingwe, looks like quarantine, Buffelshoek Dam, Lalapants. Yebo, affirmative, Buffelshoek Dam. Copy, make your way, it's just myself here. Go ahead, Brent. At Buffelshoek Dam, so no props. So now the light is dropping fairly quickly, and VM is required to alter the settings on the camera, so that is why you're getting slight changes in the coloration of the shot, but it is a requirement as the light begins to fade. And it's just remarkable how lucky we have got this afternoon, because it's an incredibly thick area around the dam, and if he had have continued walking off, it would have been very difficult to follow him. That was after we found him. Then the initial luck was obviously just bumping into him and right at the get-go. And after having quenched his thirst, it's certainly not a bad idea for him to hang around here, because he knows it's not only himself that comes here to drink. There's a lot of other animals, especially animals that he could feed on, that would come here. In all likelihood not this late in the evening, so that definitely does need to be said. It would in all likelihood be later on that he would be, or earlier on in the day, that a lot of the animals will come here to drink. Okay, we've just got another ID feature from Judy, saying he has the triangles under his eyes. Now, I can see one triangular, kind of equilateral triangle made under his left eye that we can see now. So I'm guessing that's possibly the one you're talking about. It would be interesting to see the other triangle that you speak of. Everyone's got their own kind of different techniques or specific characteristics that they look for. And Judy knows the triangles under his eyes. So thank you, Judy, for also putting in your feedback and your style of IDing this specific leopard. It really is interesting how everyone's got their own different spots that they look for. Oh, here comes some elephant. This is going to be great. And he's probably not going to hang around, so not great for the leopard viewing. He is, although, heading straight towards them. They just on their way straight towards us. And let's see what happens here. He is actually slinking. If you just zoom out, Vim, he might be able to come into shot just in front of us to the right there. I'm going to creep forward quickly, just to keep an eye on the leopard. Where's he gone? Here he is. Okay, so he's just to our right, under that thick bush that you got him there, Vim. Okay, so he's lying down. But we'll continue watching this herd of elephant walk past us. We sadly won't be able to show you both. I think he was just hiding. And look at them all waiting to come through. This is wonderful. They're going to pass just meters away from him and us. And look at the babies. Cute. Now we're going to let the elephants pass before we position ourselves in a good spot to watch them drinking. And the leopard's still lying there, so he just slunk up to make sure he was hidden from the elephants, who are now drinking. And it's a big herd of elephants. As you can see, they just don't stop coming. And the leopard's just watching closely. That's the beauty of being a leopard, is that you know you have got incredible camouflage and ability to just disappear when you don't want to be seen. He sensed the elephants coming, took just a few steps, and managed to get completely out of the way. Here he comes. It looks like he might be wanting to stalk them now. Sorry, Liam's got his work cut out. There's so much going on, and you just never know what to expect with young leopard. So we'll keep watching him closely, because he may well even jump on the back of one of these babies. Nothing would surmount from it, other than a loud noise and the rest of the herd coming to chase the leopard away. But we've just got a good question through from Larry, asking whether they're smelling him as they lift their trunks up. And they certainly are smelling intently, but I think it's more us than him necessarily. So I think they're smelling us. If they smelt him, they would show a little bit more distress and interest into his smell. They wouldn't really tolerate him being around you, and maybe actively actually come in and to try and chase him away. Hello, how are you doing? That was a close call, wasn't it, Quarantine? A whole herd of them went past you. And at one stage we thought you were going to try and jump on them. You would have been able to notice he did have that look that he wanted to stalk them, but now that's subsided. What I'm going to do is just reposition the vehicle ever so slightly, and that way be able to keep an eye on him, I'm hoping, and get a better view of the elephants drinking, because it really is a beautiful sight, all these elephants lined up. Sorry, VM's just going to have to readjust we parked at a strange angle, but this way I can look back at Quarantine while VM films the elephants. So I'll keep an eye on him while VM shows you this beautiful sight of the elephants quenching their thirst. So about 15 or 16 elephants that I could count, maybe one or two smaller ones that are hidden by the larger masses of their parents. Go ahead, Brent. Negative. Zoe's onto from Vertella access onto Balanatis and then Triple M, and came back the same way. VM, you're at full tilt there. That's just the angle we parked at.
Yep.
Sorry about the lack of horizon, but as I mentioned, as we parked here, it's a bit of a trade-off because we don't want to lose track of the leopard, but at the same time we don't want to miss these elephants drinking, and this was the best position that I could get into, and now VM has got the tripod at as far of an angle as it can possibly be. Okay, let's maybe leave these elephant to drink and go back to the leopard, and that way we solve the problem of our skew horizon. We've just got a question through from Marianne, and I will answer that in just a second, Marianne. Just Ephraim's arriving into the sighting, and a buffalo's moving off in the background, and that's what he's going to investigate. Quarantine just heard the buffalo moving off and was just making sure it wasn't any potential prey. But Marianne is now asking what exactly would happen if Quarantine did jump on a baby elephant, And I think what would happen, Marianne, is that the baby elephant would trumpet extremely loudly, and the rest of the herd would come running to its aid, and it wouldn't take long for them to chase off Quarantine. So it would just be a playful act that a young and potentially silly leopard would try and pull off. Not that of a wise one. And he's just honed in on this buffalo. Making sure that it's not potential prey or a threat, because it does know that buffalo would chase it if need be. And I'm relying on Ephraim's spotlight as opposed to our larger bright white lights, and it just gives a more moody picture, so we make the most of it when it's available to us. Has to be patient for a moment or two, because I don't. Hang on there, Vim. I can't keep track of where he is now.
He's lied down.
Okay. Perfect. Well, we will then reposition. Wonderful, F. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Hi, guys.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Awesome, thanks.
Good.
Just lie down, understand.
You get into position F, and then I'll make a plan after you.
Okay.
If you think, do you think we can both fit?
You got a daylight balance light there? Maybe use your light.
We've just got a question through from Brenda in Virginia asking whether there's any chance that the elephants would confuse us with the leopards simply because we are in an area very close to where they may have potentially smelt the leopard. I don't think they did smell the leopard personally, but even if we were in that area, I don't think they would associate us with being a leopard, because the elephants have been around and live out here day in and day out, and therefore become very accustomed to the environments and the potential threats out here to them. So I don't think we've got any concern of an elephant confusing us with a leopard and therefore taking its anger or frustration out on us because it thinks we could be a threat to it, even though leopards do pose a minor threat to elephants. So no, I don't think that's a concern. It's more of a concern for an elephant to treat us like another human that may have potentially treated that elephant negatively in the past. That is a more realistic concern for me when in a situation with elephants. But good question, Brenda. I don't personally think they would get confused. No, he certainly does seem to be expanding his area of operation, this young male leopard. Over December and January, we saw him most often around Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, Vuyatela Lodge, so kind of the central and southern parts of Djuma. And then it appears he spent a fair amount of time in the beginning of February further to the south and even seen to the west, and now he's all the way up in the north. So interesting to see him developing as a young male leopard. It's important that I don't say expanding his territory, because he will be flying below the radar at the moment. He won't be actually scent marking, and he won't be assuming or trying to acquire more land. More importantly, he'll be slinking below the radar of larger, more dominant leopards, but he will naturally become more inquisitive and over time move further and further afield from the area where he grew up. And I've never seen him up here. That's not to say he hasn't been here, of course, but it is interesting over the few months that I have been working here to notice how these youngsters are beginning to move differently. And it certainly will be interesting to see how much longer they do hang around for. They could well move many, many miles from here in the coming months and establish their territory in the coming years elsewhere, never to be seen by us again. Sorry, go again there. My earpiece wasn't connected properly. We've just got a question through from Andrew. Good evening, Andrew, and welcome on board the Jigger. Andrew is asking what time of year leopards give birth. Now, in my history, it depends on the individual female, and there's many variables involved. Unlike herbivores, who ideally give birth at the beginning of the rainy seasons so that their young can be raised with the most abundant amount of food during the summer here in South Africa, predators have got food sources year-round and therefore are not bound to give birth at any specific stage of the year in general, and that applies to leopards. I've seen leopard cubs being born at many different times of the year, but interestingly their mother apparently has, on I think 3 of her more recent litters, given birth in December, and then there and thereabouts. And the same thing happened this December. She did give birth. We're not sure to how many cubs, but sadly, however many were born, all of them ended up being killed. And that therefore means that she would in all likelihood come into season fairly shortly after losing her cubs, and mate 3 months after that she would give birth. So in 4 to 5 months' time, it wouldn't be surprising if their mother gives birth to another litter. Now, that's not confirmed, but it just goes to show that even though she gave birth in December, because she lost those cubs, she could give birth 4 or 5 months later to the next litter, and that would be in the middle of winter. So there's no set time, Andrew, and I've seen leopards being born at all different stages of the year here in the Sabi Sands. It may be different elsewhere, but here there's no set season. We've just got a question through from Cheryl, following on Andrew's question about the leopard cubs and when they may be given birth to. And Cheryl's asking whether there's any leopard cubs that we could expect to be born here on Djuma in the coming future. And we certainly can. As I did explain, Karula did lose her cubs in December, or towards the end of December, and she could well have mated within a week of losing those cubs, or even 2 weeks, a week or two, in order to conceive the next batch of cubs. And from that point, it's a 3-month gestation period, basically 90 to 100 days, which takes us to, if we just take it January, February, March, so anywhere from the beginning of April into May, we could potentially have more cubs on the property. It'll take about a week or two of them to develop to a point where we would in all likelihood be able to potentially get a glimpse of them. So yeah, April, May, there could well be some tiny leopard cubs running around, but that's not confirmed. We're not certain that she did mate with the male. I had her tracks and a male's tracks walking down the same road, but no indication that they actually mated, and that was just days after she lost her cubs. So there certainly is a chance, but no confirmed sightings. And even if she did actually, or was seen mating, it's no guarantee that the cubs were actually conceived. So we will wait and see. Karula is our best bet, though. We haven't been seeing any other females that would be coming into season. Shadow, out to our west on Arethusa, is still raising a cub. That cub's about, I think it's probably 7 or 8 months old now, maybe a little bit older than that, but still going to be relying on Shadow, its mother, for about another year. And up here in the north, there is in Cayenne that will be probably looking at booting her 2 cubs out of the home fairly soon, but again, that's hasn't happened yet, so Karula is our best bet for producing some cubs in the coming months. Ellen's asking how old female leopards will be when they lose the ability to give birth, and that's a tricky question, Ellen, but a good one nonetheless. I would say anywhere from about 15 years of age they would start battling, but up till that point I'm sure they would be able to raise cubs. There's leopardess that have survived up to the age of 20 in the Sabi Sands that have been recorded, so they can live a considerably long lifespan, and my guess would be at around 15 years of age they would probably start having trouble giving birth. But that's a complete guess, and I've got no actual factual knowledge or experience with old leopards and the ages that they've given birth. Okay, well, I'm just going to reposition ever so slightly because it doesn't look like he's going to move, and we can get into a slightly better spot, I feel. So bear with me for a moment. Well, that plan backfired. And we might just be able to now. Oh, really? That's interesting. So just enjoy this last glimpse of him as he does slink away, because it is going to get very thick, but we will actually maybe be able to follow him a little bit further down here. And as you would have established, as we decided to reposition, he decided it was also a good time to reposition, and now he is on the move, and we will leave him to his own devices after he does slink off around this next corner, and that will give us time to cut across to Brent to let him say goodnight, and hopefully, ideally, he would find the lion in the next 10 minutes. So from myself and VM, a very big thank you for following us this afternoon, and really so happy that we got so lucky to have found him this evening. And what a beautiful male it is, Quarantina. Haven't seen him for a long time, actually, probably since when I left in January. So really great to see him again. And thanks so much for joining. And we'll cut across to Brent to see what he finds in the last few minutes. Have a good one.